Welcome again to another edition of J&T Mic'd Up. I'm your host, Justin Trumpet, and today I have a special guest, Florida State University's starting point guard, Jalen Warley. Jalen, how you doing today?
I'm doing well today. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Hey, when you first started playing college basketball, who was like the first Division I basketball player to kind of give you like the work, like the business on the court when you first started playing?
I would say it was in our own gym actually. I think as soon as I got down there, we were playing pickup amongst the guys coming straight out of high school. And I remember my roommate Anthony Polite just being a lot more mature and stronger than me and just like kind of moving me around easily when I was trying to, put resistance up. But that was kind of like my welcome to college moment in my own gym.
So right now we're kind of in the off season, and the season's over with. You guys are meeting your new teammates, doing workouts and things of that nature. Like, what are some things you've been working on this off season to kind of get you prepared for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I would say just transitioning to being like a vocal leader, especially like going into my third year, trying to bring my experience and my leadership because I know how important that is to a winning culture and a winning team. So that would be more like my own personal thing I want to improve on, but just being able to be more versatile in terms of my skills, being able to be a better defender, kind of be like a big guard who can rebound, pass, and shoot. So just trying to round out my game so I can have different facets that can contribute to winning.
So recently you guys added two players out of the transfer portal, Josh Nickelberry and Jamari Watkins. So like, what are like some things that they kind of like bring, so what are like some things that they're going to bring to the team this upcoming season?
Yep, so Josh is a high level shooter. He's an experienced guy. He's been through like a lot of battles and wars. So he's a really good decision maker with the ball. One of those guys who moves really well off the ball. Active hands, is going to be able to get in the passing lane, bring steals, bring energy. And then Jameer, he does a little bit of everything. He's got good size, he can attack, he can shoot, good defender. He's also really good at being an off-ball defender, so he's going to bring us a lot of disruptions and steals and deflections and things like that will help us transition from defense and get easy layups on that thing.
So you're originally from Mount Airy, Philadelphia. Like, what was it like for you growing up there, being from there?
Definitely a basketball city, I would say. You grow up playing against the same guys since you're younger all the way up, so you kind of just see like the growth and development of everyone in your area, so it keeps you humble, it keeps you competitive. But I would overall just say it's like, yeah, a competitive city, but definitely encouraging and definitely pushes you to be a better basketball player.
How did you like get introduced to like basketball? Like, how did you like get involved in like playing it?
Yeah, basketball runs deep in my family. My dad was a Division I player at St. Joe's along with my uncle, and then my grandfather actually played for the 76ers, which is how I actually wound up being located in Philadelphia. Then, generations down the line, being raised there. But yeah, I feel like I came out the womb with a basketball in my hand.
So you played at Westtown High School. You played at that high school. What was like? How would you like describe your career, like your time playing there?
I definitely would just say growth. I feel like for me, I could see my development year in and year out. Like granted that it was like a prep school, so it was like a lot of high level D1 players I was playing against. So just seeing like, because when you're around that type of environment, it pushes you every day. So it's like you're not just waiting for games to get better, you're getting better every time you step on the court in practices and stuff like that. So I would just say like looking back now that I'm completed high school, I can just see how much better I got year in as I progressed all the way through high school.
So now we're talking about Philadelphia, basketball in the high school program. How would you kind of like assess the whole state of Philadelphia, like from a basketball perspective?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of good prospects every year. I think a lot of the guys that come from Philadelphia go under the radar early on, and then as they get to upperclassmen, I feel like they start to get more notoriety. That was kind of similar with me and my journey, but even when I was younger, I would always just see like a lot of talented guys that weren't getting, the recognition I believe they deserve. But eventually, the cream rises to the top, so the world finds out about like how many talented guys we got coming out of Philly.
You had the privilege to play for Kevin Durant's AAU team. Like, how was that like whole experience like playing for Team Durant?
Yeah, it was a special experience. I cherish all the games, all the moments, the road trips I had playing for the AAU program. I definitely would just say it was a learning curve for me because I was traveling to the DC DMV area, and so the style of basketball there definitely helped me like progress and get better because they have a different style. They play it a little bit faster, which helped me translate from high school or AAU to coming to Florida State. So I would just say I was just learning, and I just like enjoyed all the little things, like going out to eat, the road trips, the plane rides, all that stuff. I enjoyed all of it.
You mentioned Florida State. Like, why did you commit to Florida State? Like, what made them like the school for Jalen? What made them the school for you?
I feel like during the process, the coaches were very genuine with me, and as someone who was my end of my junior year and my senior year during COVID, so I was very limited with visits. So a lot of the schools that I was heavily considering, I never got a chance to get on campus. But I feel like through the Zoom calls and the phone calls and text messages, it was very genuine, especially with Coach Ham, but even all the assistant coaches, we made individual connections that like I felt like even if I went to Florida State, I would still feel like they would have been in my corner as people I could text and reach out to, which is it's hard to find in the recruiting process. So I just feel like it was my home away from home, even though I never even visited here.
You mentioned Coach Leonard Hamilton. What's Coach Hamilton like as like a coach and as like a person away from you?
Yeah, he's unbelievably humble. He's always working hard behind the scenes. Like he doesn't seek credit or like validation, but he does so much for everyone. I feel like he's one of the few people like in a basketball industry that like genuinely care for the people he works with, even the people that he sees limited time. Like you can just tell that like he cares about everyone and how their well-being and things like that, how their family's going. So I would just say like those are qualities of like great leadership. Like he's just probably is the best leader I've ever been around on a day in and day out basis.
You know, all the time we hear about the SEC conference being one of the premier conferences in all of like the PWIs out there that exists. What is it like playing in the ACC? Because you got a lot of those blue blood teams like Duke, the Carolinas. You had Clemson last season, that was a pretty good team. Virginia Tech historically is a pretty good team. Then obviously you guys, as FSU, you guys have been a pretty good basketball team as well, making the tournament in a couple of years. Like how would you assess the whole ACC conference?
I would say it's a very high level conference. Regardless of if you're playing the top seed, the bottom seed, there's going to be talented players on the team, and most likely they're going to be well coached. I mean, when there's that much prestige and lineage of the ACC conference, you're always going to get a battle, whether you're playing at home, away, regardless of the team. You got to be prepared and be locked in and treat every game the same.
Okay, so what's your favorite opposing arena to play in?
I would say at the University of Miami. I feel like there's just I feel like it's bigger than just me or the team that's currently at Florida State. There's like years of a rivalry going on. So like the excitement to walk into that arena, it all hits you when you finally take the court and like the tip off happens, just like the moment and like what you're playing for. So
it's funny that you said Miami, because FSU and Miami does have like a back and forth rivalry, historic rivalry. Kind of take me kind of inside, like in depth on like the game, like how it is out there on the court, playing against your rivalries. Like how's that whole game?
Yeah, so the experience for me was kind of interesting because as a freshman, like since I'm not from the Florida area, I like really didn't understand like the background of it. Like I didn't really understand the history. Like I was well aware that like they are in rival state and it's going to be a big game, but like the whole week leading up to it is like an experience. Like you had people wearing T-shirts, people like texting you, calling, like it's just a whole, like it almost feels like a holiday sometimes when you're playing against the in-state rival, because it's just like you don't, and like as a freshman I like took it for granted because I didn't really understand like like the magnitude of really the situation I was stepping into. But I would say this past year, like I really like cherished that moment of like being able to play my in-state rival, because it was definitely a special experience.
And then there's another one right down the road from here too, the Swamp. What's that rivalry like against them?
It's very similar. I think knowing we're only gonna play them once a year is it's a little different because like in Miami, beating them like also increases your conference. Like there's a lot more like you're playing for a little bit more. But that Florida rivalry is definitely just as special, just because you only have one chance. It's like NBA Finals in one game. Like you get one chance, and like you're either going to their place or they're coming to you, and you're gonna have brag rights for the next 365 days. So it's like it pushes like it puts like an extra cherry on top of like knowing it's like a high major basketball game you should be grateful for, but playing against like, you know, a team like Florida is always special.
What are some like great qualities you would say like a great point guard should like have or like possess on the floor?
Yeah, I feel like growing up I was always taught to be an extension of the coach, and that's not from like a place of like, you know, feeling like you know it all or feeling like you can tell people, but just being there so that you connect the coach with the players and vice versa, so that I feel like all the best point guards have that quality. I would say secondly, they're vocal. I feel like if any high level point guard that like wins games and is successful, most of them aren't silent. You're gonna hear their voice, you're gonna see them like help directing the traffic, if you will, to make sure that like everything's going well. Kind of similar like a quarterback in football.
Right.
And then I think an underrated quality of a point guard is vision. I feel like people talk about vision, but what like when you're a point guard, like the vision for not only like what you see on the court, but what you like your anticipation, like the vision, like imagining what's about to happen before it happens. There's a lot that goes into that. So I feel like as a point guard, if you want to be a high level point guard, you want to play high major basketball, play in the NBA, like your vision not only on the court in the moment, but also like seeing the play before it happens is going to be really important if you want to be successful at that position.
What would you say was your biggest leap from year one to year two you made, like the strides you made from your freshman year to your sophomore year last season?
I would say the biggest adjustment I made was probably to the speed of the game and the physicality of it. Coming out of high school, you have a lot of like just space and freedom, no shot clock most times. Like there's a lot of like at your own pace, and if you're a top player, you're probably more physically developed than most of the players you're playing against a lot of times. But kind of like restarting that and feeling like, you know, I'm one of the younger guys on the court. So kind of just like freshman to sophomore year, I could see like the speed of the game and my understanding of the game definitely took a big leap, and I feel like it showed just like with my comfortability on the court.
So since we got a chance to learn who you are on the basketball court, let's kind of dive in a little bit more of who you are outside of it and off of it. So what would you say was like one of the hardest obstacles you've had to like overcome as a person, you would say?
Probably one of the more difficult obstacles I had to do was probably going to boarding school. My junior year, I love I'm a big person on family, and even though I didn't live too far from the school, just living there day in and day out, like it still limits your time that you get with your family, like family dinners, being able to, you know, visit friends, family, like, you know, cousins, uncles, all that. But I feel like that was a sacrifice for basketball because I was literally living at a gym 24/7 because I was on campus living there. So I feel like it was like a sacrifice to my goal of who I want to be like down the line in the future.
What does the game of basketball mean to you?
I feel like basketball resembles life in a lot of aspects for me, and even though basketball has been my life, as I've gotten older, I see how many similarities it has just to like everyday situations in terms of like, you know, discipline, resilience, different qualities of people that are either like successful or they're like, you know, great people, you know, humbleness. Like there's a lot of qualities that if you're a successful basketball player, it probably mimics if you're a good person. So I just have seen the correlation as I've gotten older. So basketball has meant everything to me because I see that it's not only going to make me a good athlete, but a better person at the end of the day.
So who are you without it?
I would say I'm an easygoing, fun-loving, family-oriented. I definitely have like a passion for interacting with people from different like backgrounds and different situations because basketball naturally does that for you. It brings you in different situations. You know, you're always traveling and things like that. So I feel like it's naturally made me a very like humble and understanding person. So I just love interacting and talking to people now. So I feel like it's given me that gift outside of basketball.
I'm a spiritual person, and Nick's a spiritual person too. So I wanted to ask you this question that we always like ask guests when they come on. What type of impact has God like had on your life so far to this point?
I would say the biggest impact would just be stability. I feel like a lot of times, especially in the generation we grow up in, like things are like changing constantly, or you're getting like immediate gratification, like on your phone, social media, things like that. But stability at the end of the day, some things like aren't going to change regardless of the circumstances. And I see like God's presence within my own life that has helped like humble me even when like, so that the highs aren't as high as they are and the lows aren't as low as they are, just to stay even and understand like the bigger purpose to life. So I feel like he's played a large part of understanding who I am and who I want to be like at the end of the day.
Where'd I put the paper at? Let's see. What's something you would tell your younger self?
Have fun. Like, I know, especially this sport is highly competitive, so, you know, you're gonna naturally just be, you know, very focused and locked in, but like enjoy the process. Like a lot of the things that I look back and wish I would appreciate it more aren't on the court. It's just like those daily interactions or like those special times where you're just sitting around playing video games with your friend, like just things like that. I would just say, enjoy the process, have fun.
When you first got there, when you first got to FSU, who was like one of the players on your team that kind of like took you under their wing or kind of like, you know, like put you up on game and kind of like mentored you when you first like got there?
Yeah, I would say Caleb Mills. He definitely was very impactful for me because I feel like we had an understanding of like, as you know, both guards who like to create for others and, you know, create for ourselves. I feel like we had a really good understanding on the basketball court, but off the court, I feel like I could talk to him about anything, and it was really like it was really crucial for my adjustment from high school to college. Was like his leadership and his like kind of his ability to take me under his wing.
I forgot what game it was, but it was one game I was watching. I was watching some of your highlights, and I seen that you had stuck your hand in the passing lanes because when I was watching a lot of your highlights, like you're a guard that's obviously, like you said, you know, you're a big guard that's a playmaker, and you know you're a very strong physical guard. To the point that like when you get in the paint, like you can absorb contact and finish through contact and make the and one. And I was watching one game. I want to say it was Louisville, but I may be wrong. But I remember you stuck your hand in the passing lane and you stole the ball, and then you dribbled on their you guys in to go lay the ball up, but you caught a body, like you dunked on the guy.
Yeah.
You dunked on the guy. Could you kind of like break down that play? Like what was like how did it all happen? Like,
so I know exactly what game we're talking about. We were playing Georgia Tech at home.
There you
so
go. Yep.
We were, there was two guards on the court and one of them was driving and I was in help. So I was anticipating a pass and he kind of just saw my help and he lost the ball. And so it was rolling for a little bit. So I picked it up and I took about 2 or 3 dribbles, I want to say. So I got to the 3-point line and there was someone, one of the other guards was defending me. And like, I was kind of expecting to have to make a move early on, close to half court because he was right in front of me. But he kind of like circled like backwards, like kind of like expecting to meet me at the rim. So at that point, like it was kind of like I had to make the decision, like I got to go up and try to dunk this because like there's no move to make. The only move is to try to dunk it and, you know, live with the result. So as I went up to try to dunk it, I just zeroed in on the rim and I didn't really, after I went up and I dunked it, I barely remember seeing the rim. I just remember coming back down and seeing the bench like right in my peripheral and everyone just jumping around and then my teammates running down like, you know, tapping their head and just like, it was definitely a crazy moment.
Wow. Wow. So I seen that you're majoring in entrepreneurship. Like what kind of led you to like deciding to pick that as a specific major?
Yeah, so I've always just been interested of like asking questions and like understanding like, you know, why things work the way they do. And then my high school basketball coach was actually an entrepreneur himself. He was one of the founders of the brand and One. So,
oh, wow.
So yeah, I kind of got like a background in kind of like his daily life and what entrepreneurship really looked like. And I would say he inspired me to take the path of like trying to be an entrepreneur myself.
Okay. So with that being said, obviously, like I said, you guys are in off-season workouts. You know, you're still trying to get accustomed to your new teammates and things of that nature, and putting in work to get better for this upcoming season. With that being said, like, what are some of the how do I put this question? It just left my head. What are 1 second? Got a brain freeze. Brain shut up on me. Yeah. So what are like the expectations for this upcoming season for you guys?
Yeah, I expect us to make a statement. I think to the world, I feel like it's opportunity. Like in my life, whenever I've been underlooked, I feel like it's opportunity to prove people wrong. So coming into the season, obviously, last season not going the way we wanted it to. I feel like it's an opportunity for people to overlook us, which a lot of times is the best situation. Like personally, I like being the underdog. I feel like it makes it a better story at the end of the day. So I see more that as an opportunity to get back to the history that Florida State has and try to take it to a level that Florida State has never reached. So trying to win a national championship.
Yeah, as you should be. So we'll close it out with the last question that I like to ask everyone that comes on. So Jalen, if you had any words of wisdoms or advice that you would give to young men, young women, or kids out there who may want to have aspirations for playing basketball at the Division I level like yourself, or just attending a PWI or just attending any college as a whole, what would that advice be?
My advice to anybody younger is that you can't do it by yourself. I would say to try to learn as much as you can from the people around you, because even if you have I was fortunate enough to have basketball players in my family, but even if you don't, you can learn a lot just from your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, even if it's not related to basketball. You don't have to do it all by yourself. Just try to learn from the people around you and seek as much help and be a sponge. Try to soak up as much information as you can.
All right, well, thank you everyone for tuning in to today's episode of J&T Mic'd Up with my special guest Jalen Warley. Till next time.
Appreciate it.